Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden and the Democrats have claimed victory in 2020, despite the continued legal battles promised by Donald Trump and the Republicans. But this week, President-elect Biden and VP-elect Kamala Harris took to the airwaves, fully embraced by their liberal counterparts of CNN and MSNBC, to paint their picture of foretold pandering campaign promises of increased taxation that will kill American businesses and cost millions of jobs here in America. Today, I'll break down on what a Biden presidency will look like and what detriment is ahead in the first 100 days as liberals assume power here in America. I am your host, Eric Wright, and this is a Closet Conservative podcast. On Saturday, Joe Biden addressed the country as president-elect, citing unity among Americans, especially the nearly 50% who didn't vote for his progressive platform, spotlighting a return to the same old dated Democratic political policies that domestically failed our nation and weakened our international resolve around the world. Biden's presidential campaign was full of attacks on the Trump administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, and now it will be old Joe's turn to turn the course of COVID-19. Of course, in typical liberal fashion, Biden will attempt to take all of the glory for advances made during Trump's administration and the advancements in the COVID-19 vaccine. There is no doubt that COVID-19 and the stabilization of the national economy will plague any upcoming potential Biden administration. Well, that is, if he indeed assumes power. And assuming Donald Trump's legal battles falter, Joe Biden will be the oldest president ever elected to office. It is clear that Biden suffers from medical issues, and for some within the medical field, the most obvious is his apparent struggle with dementia. Apart from the apparent, what is most concerning is just who Joe Biden and the Democrats have in mind for key cabinet positions within a Biden-Harris or Harris and someone else administration, once Joe Biden is deemed medically unfit to hold the presidency. And you think I'm kidding? No, the writing is on the wall. The ink in the well is still wet. Joe Biden was puppeteered by the left to centralize the stance of the liberal agenda. And now it has been formalized, folks. You can kick a young girl kissing Uncle Joe out of the political picture. That's right. The DNC has perpetrated the most significant crime ever against the American people. Rather than ashamed, those in the United States are delighted with the one-over they pulled over conservatives in this country. And why is that? Because many in America are sheep, troubled souls that lack direction and understanding of their stance within their own lives and that of others. And now we have a political system primed to pry on the weak and promise everything under the moon and stars with little or no accountability or effort. But honestly, folks, I want to take time to open up my heart, my mind, and my soul for a few minutes. And like you, I am human, primed to make mistakes, and I do a great job of living up to that. But over the weekend, while I was hunting with my father-in-law and my two young boys, and during that time, I didn't think one iota about the Democrats and their directive to dismantle our American system. And why is that? Well, I'll tell you why. For the last 3.5 years, conservatives in this country have been brutally attacking our faith and our ideals, our direction, and our rights to freedom. And if you don't believe me, then tune into what Senator Chuck Schumer said in the state of Georgia over the weekend, with so many reported irregularities as setting up a situation with Senate majority hanging in the balance. Folks, the left is far from done, and in fact, they will stop at nothing to solidify every ounce of power available to push their socialistic agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, I know millions and millions of Americans are upset with the outcome of the 2020 election, and I being one of them. But as I previously stated, I'm not here to speak of the Trump legacy. Rather, instead, I'm here to talk to the American conservative cause, and that is to ensure that Joe Biden is an absolute lame duck president. After all, in his 47 years in public service, he has accomplished absolutely nothing of significance. Why should another 4 years be any different? I know many of you out there must be thinking, oh, Eric, when the president succeeds, we all succeed. But I'm here to tell you, if you genuinely believe that, then you're part of the problem here in America. If you are willing to roll over and die, accept the Bolshevik beating cast upon our freedoms at the hands of today's Democrats, then you have no heart remaining, and your soul of liberty is dead. And I'm here to tell you that I will not go quietly into the night and accept this catastrophic fate on display for our fragile democratic republic. No. I expect to fight on every corner, every headline, and every hashtag of the utter incompetence and dangerous mentality that today's liberals have planned for our nation. This weekend, my youngest child asked me almost in a very scared way, ladies and gentlemen, what will happen to this nation if Biden does indeed become president? You know, many in this country share my anguish. I mean, what do you tell a fearful young child who sees the hate and the lack of security that today's radical left brings into their life? But unlike many in this country, and perhaps many of you, my wife and I have taught our children to never give in. Instead, we have instilled in them to stand up for what is right, to never, ever, ever give in to peer pressure, or to sell themselves out for something they know isn't right. And in my family, you love those who hate you. You love those who do not understand, and you pray for them in the lives that they lead and influence with their poor decision-making. You see, we live in a time where we believe that something far more significant than ourselves makes us more critical. Many on the left, their lack of inner commitment and sacrifice of self and love and understanding of God Almighty has ruined our country. I see it daily, ladies and gentlemen. Today's schools are teaching acceptance of lousy behavior as acceptable. Our nation's churches have been plagued with sensationalism and social perversion. They have attempted to rewrite the Gospels of Jesus Christ to appeal to the masses, hiding behind our Savior's love and compassion as a means to hold up their weak stance of social morality. You see, folks, all of these issues are far more important than the legacy of one man, including Donald Trump. For a Biden win in 2020 wasn't a referendum against one man's policies. No. It was a platform that placed our population on the precipice of utter collapse. The state of our union is soft, and the outlook is bleak. We have rewarded mediocrity for far too long, and domestically and internationally, we are a laughing stock and disservice to the global community who look upon the United States to show the true success. Do you know why global leaders from countries such as Canada, Germany, and Sweden have relished in a Biden victory? Because misery loves company, ladies and gentlemen, and there's nothing more vital than banding together with like-minded weak that share in the disharmony and destitution like today's Democrats. And as a child, when you messed up, you blamed the company that you kept, instead of taking your licks and accepting your part in your decision-making. I'm ashamed of our country and the choices made to simply give in and give up on the gifts of freedom and liberty given to us by our nation's founders. Indeed, the souls of John Adams and John Hancock, George Washington to Thomas Jefferson, men of honor, men of humble dedication to this country, must be absolutely turning over in their graves and utterly disgusted with the new liberal design of our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, be mindful of what we have allowed for our nation to become. Not all revolutions bring reward, and lost freedoms are ever seldom returned. But as far from me and mine, we will never bow down to society. We'll never allow our faith in Jesus Christ and God and His love to be perverted by pandering political pressures. Instead, our love and trust in one another and in Him are more significant than any executive order or any liberal piece of legislation enacted. As we move forward in these troubling and trying times, I ask each of you never to bow down, but to band together and boldly stand for what you believe in, what you were proud of, and the bona fide building blocks that make us true, free Americans. This is Eric Wright, and you've been listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Please remember to give a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends. The Closet Conservative Podcast is a production of the Liberty Loft. Copyright The Liberty Loft, 2020. You can find more shows and information on our website, www.thelibertyloft.com, or any of our social media channels.